Standing in for Asian youth, Myni and Abi have come together in conversation to try and make sense of, reflect on, and make the most of life.
Hello, we're going to talk about Christmas, aren't we? We're getting towards the end of November and hitting December, and the trees are everywhere and the shops are full of it all already. So we thought we'd have a chat about that because we've both got new beginnings this year, haven't we?
We have indeed. Very interesting year, I would say. For me especially, I've just moved into a new house and I quite literally have boxes everywhere. What's new for you this year?
Well, completely different, and I don't know what I'm going to think about it, but it's the first time in like 50 years that I won't actually be with my daughter this year. And I've been thinking about it a lot and wondering whether I can cope or whether I'll have to go to bed or what I'm going to do. And this has happened because stuff has been going on in my daughter's side of the family where kind of other people are more needy. So her partner's mother has just died this year, and also there's issues with his children, and so I really felt that it would be the best thing to do to just set her free. And so she isn't coming for the Christmas period, but she is coming straight after New Year. And it's made me think about stuff a lot. And I said my instant idea was just to give up and go to bed and get depressed. But actually, I've decided, and I've been talking to Bob, to my husband, and we're going to try and do some completely different things. So we thought we're going out on Christmas Day somewhere to a restaurant, and we thought we would start to try and get to know some of our neighbours. So what better time to get to know people than at Christmas?
How lovely. How really, really lovely. I mean, I can't say, I mean, my neighbours probably know me well enough now by seeing me move in various amount of boxes into the new house. So I don't think I'm going to intrude too much on their space at Christmas. However, it's going to be our first Christmas in the new house. And traditionally what I have done is entertained the family on Christmas Day in a new house. However, this year, because it's so close to when I've moved in and it being Christmas, I've actually just decided to have over family in my life that would actually be by themselves. So we've just got my partner's dad and my uncle, who live by themselves, don't have anyone else, and we've just invited those two over for this year. But it is new beginnings. It's new beginnings in the new house, and it's very exciting. Very, very exciting.
I think that's a lovely thing to do, and you're making me think right back to the very beginning when I was a child and growing up just with my parents, but always they invited in people who were on their own at Christmas.
That's nice.
And it kind of made it, really, and I think that's a lovely thing to do, and maybe that's something, that we could think about in the future. But I thought, this is the first time for years and years and years now that we've come at the age we are to live in an urban situation instead of a rural situation. And actually, although we know quite a lot of people just to sort of say hello to, there isn't anything very neighbourly here. So we thought we'd give it a whirl and see if we can persuade people to do a little bit more than just nodding and saying good morning and nice weather we're having and that sort of thing. So we'll see.
That's really interesting that your parents did something similar that you remember when you were a child, and you're almost replicating that now that you're older. What can you remember what your Christmases looked like when you were a child?
Oh, they were magical. I come from a theatrical family, and they were pure theatre. If you think about some of the Victorian Christmas cards that you can still buy, stereotypical, you know, the snow and the old figures and skating and all the rest of it. It was just like that. My father did the whole thing like a theatrical performance. I wasn't allowed in the room where the Christmas tree was until the Queen's speech in the afternoon, which we were forced to listen to. And certainly I was not allowed to open any presents until after the Queen's speech, which was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which was desperate. But with hindsight, it made the whole day fabulous, every single little bit of it. You know, church in the morning, not that I'm religious, but we had to go to church. Mother was slaving over all the usual turkeys and sprouts and all this. As for the Christmas pudding, it's lucky the whole house didn't go up. It was absolutely magical. But it was only, and, you know, I was an only child and inclined to be very spoilt and all the rest of it. But what I really began to love was when these single people on their own used to join us, and we had a huge table where my father had his study and everything, and the wine flowed faster and faster, and it was just wonderful, really wonderful. I've never ever been able to replace it since. Although, having said that, I was lucky enough to, in a way, have my children when I was very young, so they were able to be a part of all of this. And we just all joined in as I got married, and that was okay in the beginning, and the kids. And they became a part of this Christmas scene in all the years that mattered. And I don't know what I think about it now, really, but I do think it's for children, which is what I'm saying, really.
I think you're right there. I mean, I remember my Christmas Day when I was younger, growing up, again, being so magical. We'd wake up on, you know, go to sleep on Christmas Eve, you know, trying to stay awake to see if when Santa was gonna, you know, fill our stockings and what have you. I remember my dad used to have up on the computer a track Santa around the world, which then turned into look, he's going to be here in an hour, you need to go to bed now. Meanwhile, I've probably got matchsticks in my eyes trying to keep me awake so that I could meet Santa. But we'd go to sleep so excited on Christmas Eve, and then wake up on Christmas Day, Santa's been, you know, my mum would do the whole, you know, footsteps in snow around the fireplace and all sorts, and it was just such a magical day. We'd have my grandparents around, my uncle, and it would just be a nice big semi-big family meal, really. We went to church, you know, we'd go out for like a nice Christmas walk, put on all of our new Christmas stuff, whether it be, you know, clothing, or if we got, you know, rollerblades that year, we'd go out in those. Meanwhile, my dad was probably picking me up off the floor, and just going out and spending time together. And probably around 4 or 5 o'clock would probably when all the parents and grandparents were probably asleep on the sofa, and I'd be quite happily there on the floor playing with my new toys that I had that year. However, I think it's now that I'm a little bit older that I more appreciate the people that are around me and just spending that quality time with them.
I think it is about people, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And I think the picture that you've painted, and I've probably painted in my own way, a similar picture is just right. And I think it should be magical for children, always. But also I think it's a wonderful time to look around and see who maybe isn't having such a wonderful time for whatever reason, and see if you can somehow gather them up and embrace them a little bit, because no matter what people say, you know, they might fiercely hang on to their independence. I'm not sure I believe in that, really. I don't know at all, but I think the pictures that we have painted are probably as they should be. I'm not sure going forwards. I don't know about our Christmas this year, but do you know, I'm even thinking about things like, I'm going to have a proper Christmas tree because I just love them. I think they're beautiful. I do like music, not necessarily Christmas carols, but other things that just make a lovely sound and to create a whole atmosphere. So I suppose I'm starting to pick and mix, and it's not about religion, and I like to keep well away from anything that the media forces down our throat, and just sweep everything aside and try and think what's important, what's not important, what is important. And it's people, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And I just think you make your Christmas how you want it to be. You don't have to live up to a certain expectation or what have you. I remember, I'd probably say about, 10, 15 years ago, it was the time when I was quite literally splitting my Christmas between spending time with my mum and spending time with my dad. And almost they were fighting over who got to spend the most time with with us. And actually, now that I'm older, I actually have come to realise that it's not about, the lavish presents that are under the tree. It's more about the people that you're sharing, your time with.
I wonder if people are waking up to this sort of thing. Do you think they are? I mean, there's so much trouble out there in the world, isn't there? Never mind, what's going on with kids and families and all the rest of it. I think it's quite nice to think about things differently and start things, and we're talking about new ways, aren't we? So maybe it's of the moment.
I think so. I think it's, as times are getting really much harder, it's harder for parents to keep up with demands of their children. And children are demanding so much more things now. It's hard then for parents to not put themselves in debt to then please their children and to live up to a certain expectation. I think that's where it's really, really hard.
Well, I mean, you're talking about materialism, aren't you?
Yes.
And how everyone is trying to get us to spend more and more money. Well, I don't think people can, with all that's going on with energy costs and all the rest of it. Maybe it's time to put houses in order and decide on priorities and what's really important in every way. I don't know. Maybe it is. To rethink it all. Well, it's interesting how we've sort of come around in a full circle. Certainly from my point of view, I've been a bit disturbed at having to have a new type of Christmas, but maybe I'm going to see what else we could bring into our Christmas in a different way, but to do with reaching out to people and trying to make the world a better place at this time of year. And it's not going to be about just spending money on probably things that nobody wants, really.
I think you're right there. I've come to realise, it was more about the materialistic things when I was younger. Getting into spending time with people, in the middle part of my years, and now we're in the new house, and actually we just want people around us who might be by themselves. And it is all about, especially for me as well as for you men, I feel that this year is all about new beginnings and making the most of who is around us.
That's a lovely optimistic thing to say, and I completely agree with you.